want to not be prepared for this if it happens. You don't want to be blindsided by it. I have never been more fucking serious on this channel than whenever I say that if this becomes reality, it's going to reshape a lot of things. It might not go as far as they would want it to, because there's definitely going to be legal challenges to a lot of it, even if they, have what they call a mandate. But they're definitely going to get some stuff through. Now, when we think about Trump's first term as president and how shitty that was, okay, that's without a plan. They didn't really think they were going to win. Trump's campaign didn't think Trump was going to win. He didn't think he was going to win. Okay. And then he did. And so what we got after that was 4 years of them just kind of like, oh shit, we've got power. What do we do? I don't know. Give me an idea. Okay, let's try that. No. Okay. That got shut down. Oh fuck. We just like kind of panicked authoritarianism in a way with no real, like that's the only saving grace of those 4 years of the Trump administration, is that nobody knew what the fuck they were doing. Certainly not Trump, but like, because of the people that were around him were people he chose, they didn't either. This is them learning from that mistake. This is them having 4 years to think about the fact that, Republicans broadly just like, oh man, we got power and we can't fucking do the shit we really want to do. We just can't make it happen, right? This is them making notes for 4 years plus. I mean, because these ideas have been around for a long time, and because most of them come from the Heritage Foundation. Heritage Foundation informed a lot of the Reagan platform. That if you're even vaguely aware of Reagan and his effect on the country, he's a piece of shit, man. He made a lot of stuff happen under Reagan that set the landscape that we still exist in today, that make it difficult for unions to thrive, make it difficult for to center workers' rights and just the list goes on and on. We just covered Reagan a lot on the FAPcast, so go watch those episodes. But a collection of proposals to radically change the executive branch of the U.S. government. Okay, now this is keeping in mind that the Supreme Court is a conservative. It's a kind of a far right wing, almost monarchist tool of the right. That's undeniable, that. And then they just made a Republican president. Any Republican president in the future is going to be free of consequence for anything. And what do you mean Republican? It's for all presidents. Yeah. But the language is such that they probably wouldn't make the same determinations for a Democrat or otherwise president that they would for Republicans. So, yeah. Okay, that context. They radically changed the executive branch. The organization is recruiting thousands of staffers for every branch of government. Some of the policy proposals in Project 2025 include the following. And now think about this. The right has complained about the deep state, right? What does that mean? Well, it really isn't. It's, there are, every presidential administration, they get to choose certain people that work under the federal government during that administration. But by and large, a lot of employees of the federal government are non-political, hires, essentially. And they're there no matter who's president, what party is in power. They're doing their job by and large. They may be a Republican, but they're not generally making choices within their job function that are, prioritizing Republican shit. They just do the job they're supposed to do. And they keep, generally just the machinery of the government. That's what they've called the deep state, because the machinery of the government has not, worked for conservatism lately, the same way that culture hasn't, because these things I've ranted about this recently anyway, but these things have moved beyond what conservatism has to offer, because it doesn't have anything. So culture, social conversations, art, entertainment, and also even just basic functions of government don't do what conservatives really want to do. They are not amenable to those regressive, authoritarian, reactionary fucking impulses. So this would just kind of flush all those people out, non-political people who are just doing their jobs in the government, and replace them with fucking political lackeys, Trump lackeys. Okay, boosting fossil fuels. Hello, everybody. Hello. I am. Can you hear me? Am I audible? I'm trying out a different format of like how this is laid out today, so I want to make sure you guys can hear me because I'm not actually visibly present on the screen live. Okay, cool. I'm visibly present in this clip that I'm playing, but I'm not visibly present live. Got it? Got it. Let me know if you hear that same static from Friday night because, man, I fucking did some shit today, and I really hope that it is not present anymore. So how do I sound? Anybody hear that static? I'm going to keep talking for a minute because it would normally kind of pop in and out. So I'm going to talk. I'm going to vamp. I'm going to blah, 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 blah. Yeah? No? Am I in the Phantom Zone again? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Really? What? Okay, guys, what are you fucking talking about, man? Can it? Please don't say that shit if it's not. Okay, thank you. Thank you, serious people. Thank you, serious chatters. You're serious and you're awesome. I love you. Okay, you're joking. Got you. Thank you. That's what I need right at the beginning of the stream, man, is to feel like everything's going off the rails again. That's exactly what I need. Crawling Chaos, you lived up to your name. Anyway, look, Morgan is gonna be here, but Morgan is running behind because Morgan, is like, cares about their family and they're taking care of their family. Like how I often do on Friday nights. I end up kind of being late. Well, today's Morgan. We can't fully fap without Morgan. So what we're going to do, well, look, I got 20 of you. I'll go ahead and show you a couple of things that I got in store here. Check this out.
That is amazing. And you, my friend, are a true hero.
What's up? That's how you know it's FAP time right there. Okay. I gotta have a visible avatar here. This is freaking me out. I'm like I'm not present. It's weird. It's weird. All right. Audio avatars. Boom. There I am. I'm there. That's me. All right. Now, back to this explainer of look, dude, this is crazy because look, man, look. We were supposed to be talking about Project 2025 tonight. That was going to be our big episode that we had plenty to discuss about it. We were going to, and we probably, I guess, still are. I don't know, man. I don't know. I wasn't expecting this shit today. Nobody was, I think a lot of people were expecting it. Maybe not today. But we got a whole other subject that we got to get into. Because, yeah, man, holy shit. Like, whoo, woo-wee. It could go with it. It's like they are right there interlinked, right? They are hand in hand for sure. Also, I do have one of these prepared for you. 1 second. I got one of these. Boom. Got one of those to do. I guess I could go ahead and do that. I don't I hate to do it without Morgan here, but I'll go ahead and do it. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. I don't know, guys. I was pretty surprised by today, but I don't know if I was surprised as this guy.
Inflation has gotten so bad, you can no longer bribe Democrat senators with cash alone.
He's pretty shocked. You know, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody more surprised than he was. Okay, here's what we'll do. I'm going to give it a few more minutes of playing this this clip of Project 2025 Explainer, and we'll get back to it. While slashing environmental regulations, dismantling the Inflation Reduction Act, shutting down the Department of Energy Loan Programs Office, taking partisan control of the DOJ, the FBI, the Department of Commerce, the FCC, and the FTC. And those right there, that would be essentially fucking crippling for, a lot of activism, free speech, like it's hard to even fucking fathom the effect that kind of thing would have. Dismantling the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Education, which, yeah, of course they want to fucking get rid of the Department of Education. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, conservatives are people who hate government that want to work in the government. Okay? They want to work in it, but they hate it. Their entire goal is to dismantle it, to get in, get power, fucking destroy it all. Except only the bare, minimum of we got to have a military so we can do fascism, so we can look strong. So they want to keep the military. But other than that, like, look, we're going to keep teaching kids how to read and be transgender. All right, what the fuck are you talking about, Byron? What are you doing, man? Will you stop that shit? I'm actually going to ban you, dude. We just told you the other day not to do this stupid shit. That is the dumbest fucking thing you can possibly do right now. I don't understand how even you can think that. Like, we're going to explain to you today why it's actually, there's more hope today than there was the other day, man. Like, what are you paying attention? Do you not know, like, facts about things? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm actually, look, man. All right, we'll get into it right now. Fucking progressive, not to mention, the establishment, yes, but also progressive Democrats are rallying behind Kamala Harris. She's livened up the electorate, seems like. Biden had lost a lot of support with the black voters, which were necessary to get him into office in 2020. That could have been enough to stop him from fucking winning right there. Well, there's a good chance that she's going to gain some of those back. There's a good chance she might not too. We can get into that, but like still, the thing is that the elements at play right now are generally more favorable, and they can be made more favorable rather than just being what they were and what they were always going to be with Biden, right? Right. Yeah. Dude, Trump won't even debate her. He won't. I bet he won't. He's fucking scared. That's right. That's right. Hey, I got one right here on my arm, man. Right here on the arm. Always there. Always there. Yeah, sorry, Byron, man. I literally have a fucking symbol for hope on my forearm. You can't be coming at me with that all hope is lost bullshit, man. I don't accept it. I've been in some hopeless situations before, man. I don't know. I think Newsom maybe is I think he kind of comes off as, I would vote for him, sure, but like I think he might come off to a lot of, maybe the Midwest type folks is a little too slick California politician type. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? Well, Morgan just showed up, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start this goddamn intro proper. We will see you in just a few moments. I love you in like a completely platonic way, but also in that other way too. I'll see you in a few minutes. Bye.
Everywhere I go, I see his face.
Can I offer you a nice egg in this trying time?
Shut the fuck up!
My loneliness is killing me. I must confess, I still believe. When I'm not with you, I lose my mind. Give me a sign.
Don't miss Trump next time.
Hit me, baby, one more time.
the other one, No Organized Chaos. Actual fandom.
You should delete your channel. The female version of Dick Grayson is Pussy Grey Daughter.
He's not alive, but he's right.
But really, if you want to do any kind of like karmic justice back in the fucking world for the damage that you're causing with this kind of shit, you should just delete your fucking channel. Okay? Drink it in. Yeah. Absorb it. Let it wash over you. Look, here's the thing.
It's the ever-loving blue-eyed thing. It's clobbering time.
I vaguely know who actual fandom is.
Hey, motherfuckers.
The journey that we choose as fans. Everything's just not always going to be great. And when it's great, you got to celebrate the hell out of it. But when it's not, you just move on to some other shit. It's like the easiest thing in the world.
Like I was made for this.
Let's fucking go.
The only way that you can really stop this kind of thing is to arouse public opinion. It's very upsetting. It has a bad moral effect.
Forced adversity.
When I was a kid, it was too much supper. Now it's comic books.
I'll burn them tomorrow.
Bad, B-A-D-D, bothered about Dungeons and Dragons.
Ask yourself, what's more terrifying? Fear or the frightened?
I think there ought to be a law against them. Tonight I'm going to show you why.
We do got to bring back Fap News. Yeah. Hello, I'm back, but I'm not alone.
You are not alone.
Hey, the work goes on.
Yep.
So, slow day. Nothing going on really today.
That's good.
We were planning on doing this news thing, but there's not even really anything to cover, I don't think.
No news. Oh, that's good. We can talk Star Wars or X-Men or something.
Star Wars, Marvel Comics, we talk X-Men's, some X-Mans. Yeah. That Wolverine 9 movie's coming out next weekend.
Wolverine,
yeah. Stylized as Wolverine. It's looking pretty cool. I don't know if anybody saw that final trailer. Spoiler, but
yeah.
It's pretty cool character popped up in there.
That's gonna have Wolver 10 in it, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like Wolver. Yeah, that's it. So Jacob was just all hot to talk about NYX #1.
Is that out? Holy shit! How did I miss that? How? Morgan, I'm so sorry, folks. I know you expect the breaking comic reaction here, but
Were you talking? Was Zan talking about X-Men or what? What do you have going on?
Well, Deadpool's going to be in Wolverine.
I
That's
imagine
awesome.
you didn't have a lot to say. That is pretty
It's a
cool.
niche
I don't know if
character,
I don't know. Dude, has PR Deadpool heard of that about this? That's pretty fucking cool. Where's he
I'm
at?
sure. Yeah, if he's in it, I'm sure he'll like take the week off or something for it.
You should go see that PR Deadpool. I think your boy might be there.
Yeah, your boy, Mr. Poole.
How many different things can we be facetious on at once?
I'm trying. I'm not gonna lie. I'm on a ledge on this one.
All right. So yeah, guys. Sleepy Joe, you may rest now, young man.
Guess so.
I actually did say yesterday, so I was right and I was wrong. I called it, but I didn't, because yesterday I thought it was Sunday when I said that they're gonna announce it tomorrow, and I was thinking Monday. For whatever reason, I thought yesterday was Sunday for a while. It was fucking stupid. But like, yeah, I was right, because it was today, just not on Monday.
Right.
But yeah, once the COVID announcement, I was like, okay, that's the bell right there, you know.
Yeah.
It just seemed kind of obvious, but like, I mean, I don't want to say it's unprecedented, because I literally don't know if that's true, but it's unprecedented in our lifetimes. And yes, I'm saying unprecedented.
I appreciate the bit commitment.
There'll be fucking, I don't know, man. Why are you getting on my ass about this? I didn't fucking name it that. Jesus.
I mean,
you know?
he's in first class.
True. He's in first class, exactly. Or if you want to count, you know, the paper mask that Deadpool wears in the first Deadpool movie.
Right, that's true.
X-Men Apocalypse is the one she missed. That's it. That's why
he is in Apocalypse for like 3 whole scenes. Yeah.
It's actually really cool, you know.
It's a cool scene.
cameo.
Yeah, I liked it.
See, the thing is, I just told Bob of the old ways, and this in the Discord is like, yeah, you think that, but anything he does could very well and probably will be, you know, used against Kamala. Kamala. I have to remember that it's Kamala, because I remember she like was correcting people. They were correcting people like around 2020 election time about this, and it's not Kamala as in Kamala Khan. It's Kamala as in Kamala Harris.
Right. So, yeah, like it would be nice, but also here is my fear. Here's what has me on the ledge once again.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a rough month for me.
Yeah.
We have had 4.5-ish weeks of nonstop Biden is old news coverage. And that is, you know, barely interrupted for, you know, pretty clear documentation that Trump was doing some sexual stuff to people not of age. That was the RNC. That was an assassination attempt that, like, they could not wait to get back to this story. Because the convention wasn't over for 12 hours before, Biden's still old. Time moves in one direction. You know, breaking news to follow, right? More to follow.
Well, you know,
to like, what is going to stop tomorrow from being the start of 4 weeks of wall-to-wall? Kamala's the DEI candidate. Kamala that's unexperienced.
That's the thing is, that's definitely gonna happen.
Right.
But I mean, like anything that they can say, like she's definitely, as long as she, okay, so they definitely don't need to lean into the quote unquote DEI element of her. I don't want to hear a bunch of shit about, you know, sorry, I mean, call me Chud if you want to. I just don't think that it's good strategy to be like, I'm gonna be the first Black woman, you know, like, you know, all this stuff, like none of that. I mean, yeah, you sure mention it, kind of have to, I guess, here and there, but like, no, you need to lead with the fact that she's a fucking cop and he's a fucking criminal.
Right. That's
you know,
what
like
should
literally,
do.
you couldn't have more. Like they're going to want to make it DEI versus anti-woke or whatever the fuck.
Right,
And
sure.
she needs to make it cop versus crook because it's just
Right.
like it's objectively true. It's right there. You
It's
can't
right there,
fucking
yeah.
hide from it.
My fear is that the media, like they have done this whole time with this Biden is old thing, is they're just going to make the story about this controversy about, oh, Republicans are saying she is the DEI president. Is she really qualified to be president? And
Right.
it's
The
just going to be
fucking media is the wild
nonstop
card here.
that.
God damn it. The media is the wild card. I'm really really upset right now. Like realizing how true it is that the media just wants Trump to win.
It's here's what it is, you know, it's easy to think of the media as one big whole thing.
Right.
But the truth of it is that all of the nonstop panics we had during the Trump administration about all the fucked up shit he did was good for ratings. And Trump is, if nothing else, a showman and is good for ratings. And Biden has just been a guy who gets shit done. Like he's just a guy who punches in every day and does the job and doesn't make a fuss about it. Media will 100% risk racism. Have you heard of the New York Times? Like,
well, I mean, they're gonna do it in their way. Like they're gonna do it in the way they do it is by appealing, by giving any legitimacy at all to the quote unquote DEI bullshit.
Yeah,
as if like that's look, Kamala Harris
treat
maybe
that talking point as potentially legitimate and hand-wring over it.
Kamala may be she may be a lot of things, but she's not like she got into position the way she got in position because she's kind of a fucking stone cold hard ass prosecutor. And like, I mean, you know, she went after, not saying this is a good thing because it's not, but she apparently appealed to some people, like the fact that she went after sex work and basically put pimping back into business because she fucking got rid of Backpage.
Right.
And so then that leaves sex workers needing protection again, which just means pimps. And like, good job there. Like, not really, obviously, but there are people that do like that because they don't understand that sex work is just work and so on and so forth.
Yeah. But yeah, like I genuinely believe that. So between Trump being good for ratings, Biden not being good for ratings because he's just a guy who does his job. Yeah. And that the people who own these media conglomerates, that they want more Trump tax cuts. It's good for them on both ends, right? They get the higher revenue with the higher ad sales, and they get the tax cuts on the back end. Of course they're gonna put their hand on the scale. Right. Yeah, I would agree. Her DA status is an asset for normie voters.
This is a good thing for most voters, the average voter. Yeah. I mean, so then there's the element of like, she's polled very unpopular before.
Yeah, she has not historically been a popular politician.
Which was really confounding me because like, what has she done to make her unpopular, right? Like, I don't really know what it is that she's done. Is she just like, did she get Anne Hathaway or something? Like, just a bunch of people decided they didn't like her for no reason? What?
She's a career prosecutor, woman of color. Like, she just demographically doesn't lend herself to being well liked.
True. I guess I could see why there'd be a lot of people of color that not fans.
Right.
But at the same time, there are apparently some that are, because the news I was looking at said that internal polling says that they would actually win back some of the support that had, kind of waned from the black voters with Biden.
Yeah.
Since 2020. And I was like, okay, I don't understand how this stuff all works with support like that, but what, I don't know. I'm just taking what I read and trying to understand, and I'm failing at it. So
this is why I am on the cliff, because that's fair, Bob. Like, they all did.
Here's what, in my opinion, what they need to go after. The main three, like the three forks of prongs of the fork or whatever. I don't know. Cop versus criminal narrative. Just
you have to pound that. You have to
because
pound
that keeps his fucking criminal activity, because he is a fucking criminal.
He's a criminal.
No matter what
He
the
is
Supreme Court
a
says.
convicted criminal.
Yep. Keep him out. Keep that out in the discussion. But also, I mean, look, this is a really good thing. She, in case you haven't noticed, is a woman.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a lot of pissed off women right now.
Yeah.
And scared women. And not just
sure.
women, but like people, people with uteruses. Shout out to fucking, what's her name?
Non-binary people.
Well, I was just trying to think of, man, it would have been funny if I would have remembered her name. Anna Kasparian, people with wounds.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Please.
But, no, but like, yeah, a lot of valid anger and fear about that stuff, rights. And that's exactly something that she could and should and probably definitely will speak to.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a third one and I forgot what it is. So cool.
All right. Yeah. I like, I think that if you're a Democratic talking head, if you're someone that comes onto a news channel or a news program of any sort and are asked anything, you just need to beat on this criminal versus cop narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Stop talking about Trump for who he is. Okay, so if I want to talk to you. You and I are gonna have a chat. We're just you and I right here, right now. Dan, if you could pull that up on the
what
old
is it?
screen. The okay, after you need to stop talking about Trump. That one, yeah. Hi, thanks. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. Everyday normies, let's call them normies. I hate using that term, but for the sake of expediency, we're going to use it. If a lot of normies don't know the extent of it, and they know because of how the media coverage is it, right? If you're just someone who, sees the headlines on in the doctor's office, right? They just know about the controversy. They don't know necessarily how bad it is. And also, like, if Trump bad isn't enough, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like Trump's given a speech about how, like, I shouldn't get healthcare anymore. Trump's VP has said people like me are sex pests. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah, I want to let's see.
Oh, there are absolutely normies. That get off the internet, please.
Oh, are you kidding me? What are you talking about?
There are
man?
normies. I'm so sorry.
Where the fuck are you from? What?
Yeah, like, please go.
Yeah, exactly. Mainstream. That's what it is. Let me show you who we're talking about, Woke AF. Let me show you exactly who the fuck we're talking about, okay? So watch this video Friday night a little bit. Sorry. Let me get this shit ready here. But like, yeah, these are people that I don't understand how they exist. I don't understand what their minds are like. I said earlier, I made the joke that like undecided, independent voters, they who knows what their brains do. They could just wake up every day and be like, today I'm gonna wipe my ass with food and eat toilet paper. Who knows?
Yeah, like that. Well, that they're like, there are people whose lives are in such a way that, like, obviously here is a bunch of people who look like upper middle class suburban people.
Here's
you're in
disconnect is
Waukesha,
happening,
right?
Morgan.
They're in the heart of moron country.
Here's where I think the disconnect is happening here is that you're saying that they don't, that you think we're saying nobody knows who Trump is.
Right.
Okay?
That's not,
That's
everyone
not the
knows
case.
who he is.
Everybody knows who he is. We're talking about the details of these incidents and, like, pays attention to every single time he's fucking lied and knows about every single lie essentially, and how they obfuscate and how this all plays into the media and, like, these types of things that most people, normies, average people who aren't online all the time, right? Because they're working jobs and shit. That's why they're called normies. It's not to insult them.
It's not. Yeah.
We're the freaks who are on the internet all the time.
Yeah. Here is, I think, a good anecdote, and it's an anecdote. I don't have polling data on this. I have a coworker who's a very smart, I wouldn't say politically aware, but not unaware. He's not stupid on the subject. He understands systemic issues for the most part. And even though we don't agree on everything, he generally has a grasp on the broad strokes. He genuinely was like, wait, is the RNC a big deal? What? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Right, Sketchy gets it. Like, yeah, because you're black, you have to be more aware. You don't have the privilege of being unaware, and probably more so than I do, to be honest. Like,
all right, well, I mean, look, we can't keep talking to Woke AF because he's just like engaging in really simplistic kind of terms, to be honest. Like, I don't know if he's not going to listen
so
to what we're
here's the
saying.
thing with the Acolyte, right? Like, most people out there, most Star Wars fans in the world don't know about any of the online drama. That is 8 people arguing on YouTube and a bunch of their followers commenting back and forth.
And Ted, I mean, I don't even understand how to answer that question. Are all, no, I mean, they're people.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, are they bad on what terms? Like, are they just bad human beings? I don't think so.
You know what? I like, separately today, I spent time with 3 different anti-Trump conservatives who are my friends, and I enjoy their company and their insights. We have different worldviews, and we can talk about them like respectful human beings.
Well, I mean, what I say simplistic because whenever I've given you more specific details about exactly what we're saying, and then you kind of ignore that and then just keep kind of repeating that, like, people have a phone and a computer and Google, and that's not what we're saying. Okay, so like that's what I mean by simplistic.
There's a bias that people are prone to, especially smart people. This is why I say, like, I know a lot of smart people, but they're all incredibly dumb. Is because every smart person does 2 things. They assume because they're smart in one area, they know more than they actually know. And they might have a good intuition about it sometimes, but they don't know. They're just used to knowing, so they assume they know. And the second is that they kind of get used to assuming that everyone they know is at least as good as them at everything they do, that they are the average. That's just your human brain. It's hard to process that, like, there are skills unique to you and blind spots unique to you.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I just keep like seeing where you're changing. Like, when did we weren't talking specifically about black people. I mean, we just literally said that probably on average, I mean, black voters are more aware.
Yeah,
we're talking about
we literally just said that black
like,
voters are more aware.
The people who aren't as affected by who's in power as, generally black people might be, right? Like,
right.
White people in the Midwest and shit, they might be affected, but they don't know that they're affected by it, right?
Right.
Because a lot of people, it's one of the main reasons people don't vote, man.
If they don't know how much it affects them.
But yeah, anyway.
They have the privilege of not having to know. And yeah, you don't have that privilege, but we're not talking about you.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think so. I think that she and her surrogates need to pound on those things and pound on how she is the law and order candidate and Trump is the criminal candidate nonstop. Every time a microphone is in front of their face, they need to be on it.
So let's check out this panel here. I've got
All
this is from a BTC video. I say that like I think he's an awesome guy or something. I don't know. He's just kind of a stooge, but still.
I want to point out something before we hit play.
Yeah.
This is in Waukesha, Wisconsin, which is in one of the 3 most conservative counties in Wisconsin. So, like, the average undecided voter there is going to demographically skew to the right.
And I've got another video that I think now that we get to it, I really do think we should watch that video that I'd shared, thinking it might be an aside if we had time. I think it is actually very relevant, and we should watch it later. But like, because it directly relates to this. But for now, this will do.
But then he went into mistruths and grievances and attacks, and it just totally contradicted itself in terms of what he wanted to achieve with unity.
His rhetoric hasn't changed about the election, 2020 election, and I'm really concerned that we're going to have another issue.
Like, how can you not be aware that, of course, his rhetoric hasn't changed? It's only gotten worse. The longer that it's gone on, the more insane that it is. and then like, oh, you're concerned now that there's going to be another. No, there's been a constant issue since the first time the guy in 2016 ever fucking mentioned, that the elections might be rigged or whatever if he loses. There's been an issue since then, and it's only grown. Like,
right.
That's what we mean by like normies, that they're, even if they are aware of these things, they haven't fully like kind of internalized them and processed what it means, right?
Depending on who wins. So, I'm just really praying that if Trump wins, the guardrails of democracy will hold.
There was a CNN.
If Trump wins, they won't.
They will not.
I mean, they're barely fucking hanging on now. So, like,
CNN panel of undecided voters reacting to the hot mess that was Donald Trump's Republican convention speech, a speech that we were all told would reflect his new tone and message of unity and his serene nature, and how this time is totally, definitely, absolutely going to be different. And, well, what we got was this.
The Democrat Party should immediately stop weaponizing the justice system and labeling their political opponent as an enemy of democracy. If Democrats want...
Now think of this. This is the guy who has called journalism in general, but I'm pretty sure he's also called just like Democrats
enemy of the people,
enemy of the people, and various other versions of that type of thing. But then it comes to this, and it's like, oh no, basically normies are the people that don't see through his bullshit as like as the con man that he is, that he's literally talking out of both sides of his mouth at all the times, right. Basically.
To unify our country, they should drop these partisan witch hunts, which I have been going through for approximately 8 years.
They're not partisan witch hunts. They're not even, Joe Biden didn't even fucking sign off on them. There's just literally the justice system working as they would.
Do you know what is a partisan witch hunt, though? When Trump's attorney general had a prosecutor investigate Hunter Biden on a bunch of things that for on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And Hunter Biden is not, turns out, because I saw someone the other day mentioning this again, what about Hunter, yada, yada. Hunter Biden does not hold elected office. He does not hold an appointed office in anywhere in our government. He is a private citizen.
It's weird. It's weird to go after somebody's son that way, like as if and of course there was really nothing there. You look at the people that were mainly focused on it, look at Giuliani and how insane and drunk he's been for the past, I guess, decade or something.
Yeah, he's been off his rocker.
Anyway,
so yeah,
crazy Nancy Pelosi, the whole thing, just boom, boom.
He's like, we got to unite and not do this partisanship with crazy Nancy Pelosi, and
right.
I mean, the fact is, like, leftists kind of don't matter, and that's something I think that maybe we all need to come to fucking terms with right here. Like, when it comes to the things, like, what are they doing, man? What have they done? I think it was ContraPoints pointed out that there was, like, during 2020, there was some pretty awesome, bail funds that were established and things like that. And that's great. Yeah. That's a substantive thing that was done by the online left. Other than that, what have they, and that includes me, as I consider myself as generally part of that, although not part of any specific section of it. But like, what are they doing? They you see them online saying they're not going to vote for Biden in 2020, and they're not going to vote for him in 2024 or whatever. And then, he wins by 7 million votes anyway. And it's like, okay, so clearly he didn't have much effect there.
Well, I think here's what we have done here that I think a lot of the online left has failed to do. We have talked at length about local elections, knowing who your local candidates are, knowing who the progressive ones are, knowing who the least regressive ones are. And we have encouraged people to act accordingly and investigate those. And you don't see that anywhere in the online left. Anywhere. It is an alien concept. The online left is so adverse to talking about local elections. It's actually kind of sickening. It's the Libertarian Party thing, right? Where they're just focused on the top. And it's like, you can't, that's not how a system works. I don't expect a libertarian to understand systemic problems like leftists claim to.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, this type of thing that where it's like commenters do this regularly. I got a few of you who are good folks, and I don't not say anything negative about you, but I mean, like, I'm just asking you to consider that maybe you don't have to always do a caveat of like, well, the real leftists online or something. It's like, well, look, those are the people that are just talking noise and making content by and large. And and the ideas that look, the best thing I can say is that the ideas that get discussed and cycled around on in the online left are the ideas that do seep into more mainstream politics, and that we should push for that.
Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, as far as like actually having a real sway in anything, no. What's the one of the biggest things that the online left, quote on big air quote energy, did was the fucking force the vote bullshit, which was just a colossal fucking stupid. Doesn't make any sense to even try doing that at that time, and yet it made some noise, and then what's the other thing they get known for? Well, there's just enough of them apparently that are saying, essentially fucking, doing Hamas great and all Israelis are bad, and that gets thrown onto the left unfairly, but still there's enough of them making noise doing that it kind of
that radicalizes the wrong direction a lot of left-leaning Jewish people.
Yep.
And I get it, right? In the same way I get that the Biden policy on Palestine radicalized a lot of Arab-descended people and Muslim people against the Democratic Party. I get both of those things. And it's like, if you're going to be someone agitating online for something, you have to have the ability to try and communicate in nuance.
Okay, so I mean, look, I'm not even agreeing with you because I actually watch Pacman semi-regularly, and I've seen him talk about Gaza. I don't understand how they can make that claim, but how does not talking about it actually hurt Democrats, considering it seemed to be that there was way more damage done to Biden by, constantly focusing on that as if Trump would be better. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. This is kind of what I mean, is like, you'll get hung up on these fucking, irrational points that like are not irrational as much as you may be like morally correct, but you're not strategically sound or wise, and it's actually often shooting yourself in the foot. Which ultimately is not morally correct, because if you end up with a worse fucking situation than you have right now, then in the long run, you're kind of, not morally right. Right? Right.
Yeah.
Whoa. Whoa.
Wow. That's a good sign.
Yeah, can we get some source of that, dude?
Yeah, I would like to see a source of that. Also, if you have donation links. Yeah, get a source and get the links. Let's put that in chat.
Any leftist that isn't fully on board with like just pushing back against the literal fucking fascist attempt that's being made has been signaled for several years now, and is now at the very fucking, they're about to strike. You know what I mean? Like, and once they do, that's going to decide the ball game. Anybody that's not just all hands on deck for that is not a serious person, in my opinion. You're not seriously advocating for a goddamn thing. You can be right on every single position that you have, but if you don't recognize the fact that this takes precedent, then all that shit, it doesn't matter, because this is ball game.
It's one of those things where, like, if you want leftist outcomes, not voting for the person most likely to beat Trump is 8 steps backwards for your plan minimum, if not the end of you. Yeah, we need what happened in France to happen.
Yeah, no shit.
Here, we need.
But we get fall victim to the spectacle too often,
And we're Americans are not taught to think politically, and we have a media memory span measured in hours.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Destiny going after the comparatori guy, the way he did? Like, holy shit, man! What is it? You know, and what's funny is I had just been seeing a few clips of Destiny recently where I was like, yeah, he actually seems really chill and like he's making some good points here. You know what I mean? And then then he does something like that, and I'm like, holy shit! Don't fucking come near me. Did you see that?
No, because my exposure to Destiny was just people complaining about him, and I've never watched him, and I'm like, I don't need to watch this guy. Like, oh, he's super popular. I'm like, that's fine. I don't care.
He called the comparatory guy the R slur, the one that died. You know, at the Trump rally, he was like, "Oh, this is the R word." Yep.
Folks,
and it's like, look, man, you can see his post. He was not a good dude. He was not saying cool things or anything. He was Trump. He was at a Trump rally. What do you expect?
Right. What do you expect? But also, like, I make it a personal policy not to say bad things about firefighters. Just like, as a firefighter,
they're not cops after all.
They're not cops. Like, you know, you want to talk about real emergency services heroes. Like, it's EMTs and firefighters, not fucking cops.
Morgan, by the way, did you see this? I mean, I want to lighten up the mode here a little bit so we can kind of like pivot, so we don't get stuck in a loop here.
Yeah, walk me back.
I showed this at the beginning of the stream just to kind of kill time, but I don't think you saw it. So here's this.
That is amazing. And you, my friend, are a true hero.
What the fuck?
Okay, there we go.
So, speaking of which, I don't follow The Boys.
Oh, you don't?
No, I've tried to watch it a few times. I slowly have made my way through the second season ish, but it just never it's good. It just doesn't really grab me.
Okay.
So what? This season, I guess, has been like a whole fucking can of worms.
I mean, not really any more so than before, to be honest. There's been so like the milk, him getting sprayed with milk thing. That's just a follow up on something that's been going on since the first episode.
Oh.
He would Homelander would literally breastfeed from the lady that we used to be the CEO of Vought Enterprises or whatever.
Right.
And she would breastfeed him because they just had that weird relationship. And so, of course he had killed her at some point, spoiler alert.
Right. Yeah, and, I remember she kills her, I think, in the first season.
Who does what?
Doesn't Homelander kill her in the first?
Oh yeah,
second?
Yeah. He lasers her holes through her head. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, no, there's just been kind of, I guess the only thing I might say is there's been a couple of gags, pun intended, that are maybe a little bit forced compared to previous seasons.
Sure.
In the last season, I think it was, there was the guy, the Ant-Man type guy, and he was into shrinking down and going into his boyfriend's butt. Or I'm sorry, into his penis, actually.
Oh, fun. All right, sure.
And then they actually made him they made him sneeze, and which would make him grow big instantly while he was inside of there. So that caused that kind of thing. But it was actually somewhat organic, so to speak. There's been a couple of things this season where it's like, okay, that seems kind of out of nowhere, maybe. But generally, the finale was fucking phenomenal, and it set up what looks to be an awesome final season. So
cool. Yeah, I've just seen a lot of people bitching about it, and I'm like, I don't really follow it, so I'm,
There's definitely some grift happening, I think. People that maybe really hadn't paid attention to it or something, but... Yeah.
Well, I know it's one of those shows that, it took till this year for the Chuds to figure out that it was making fun of them.
Yeah, and that's true. Anarchy Hamster, cool name, that this season it's done much less of the making fun of the left.
Oh, sure.
And by making fun of the left, what they didn't understand before was that it was making fun of the corporate appealing aesthetic left shit,
right? The corporate pride shit,
right? So Brave Maeve's tacos, because she's gay or whatever, and
sure,
it's that kind of thing, being silly and heavy handed. We're not literally making fun of gay people, right?
Right.
Whereas like on the right, they're actually making fun of the things you people fucking think and say.
Right.
Anyway, they probably will never realize that.
Not in our lifetime.
Rainbow capitalism. Thank you. That's the term I should have used. You are right. Okay. All right. So I wanted to kind of like, I guess we were supposed to do Project 2025 stuff, which we still got time, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I hope they don't announce a new candidate every Sunday. Then we really fucked.
It's really gonna fuck things up. Yeah.
So, Kamala, we've talked a little bit about the pros and the cons. There seem to be, almost to my mind, without actually itemizing them, there seem to be about as many as you know, for instance, and some of them are the same thing. For example, like she was a quote unquote cop. Well, she was a prosecutor. I mean, for all intents and purposes, she works hand in hand with the police, and you know, her goals work the same as the police by and large. So she's a cop, which, you know, like we were saying, to a lot of the more, you know, center mass of voters, that's probably a good thing.
Probably a good thing.
There is a narrative there to like having, you know, some law and order, which is kind of ironic to think that the Democrats are more of that than the.
I mean, I think that's the perception that the Republicans have always tried to push, that they're the law and order party. Well, not always, but I would say always, almost, yeah. But I think that, like, if you look at whose administrations have had more members of their administration charged with crimes or convicted of crimes, it's Republican administrations always have more criminals.
That's actually a really good fucking point, man. Like, come out against 2025, and at the same time, just like, here is you know, a real plan for American people, not just like, But I mean, so the thing about even amongst normies, so to speak, that is not necessarily a great look for her as far as the cop thing is 2020. She softened her positions and kind of like started kind of appealing to, you know, what was going on with BLM and stuff like that, which I think a lot of the online left anyway were calling that shit out, and somewhat justifiably so. I mean, there's something to be said for like, okay, look, you're right that she used to be really hardcore on this stuff, but do you not allow someone to soften their position whenever it favors what your goals are?
Right.
You know?
Like that's, if that's one of those things, is like, oh, if someone changes their mind, like, yeah, you should, that's a good thing, you moron.
It's it's like Biden used to, you know, he used to be for the crime bill, and it's like, yeah, and then he's not anymore.
And then he's not. Isn't that great?
Big mistake.
Yeah.
You know, you got to take what you can get.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's that. There's also just like the potential for her being unpopular in the same stupid way that Hillary was, because to be clear, Hillary was unpopular by some for some valid reasons.
Yeah.
And there were some, she was just unpopular because she was a woman. And you know what I found myself doing today? I was looking for a picture of Kamala for the thumbnail, and I fucking did the thing where I'm like, I don't know, she looks a little like too here and a little too there, you know, that's not, you know, and I was like, holy shit, I'm doing it. I'm fucking being more critical of her looks than I would of Biden.
Yeah.
That's fucking sexism. I was doing a sexism.
You were doing a sexism. And look, here for the chuds in the audience who are watching this on the VOD or whatever, that is all it takes to realize you're doing a sexism and get the fuck over it. It's going, that's a sexism. I'm going to stop doing that now, and just like talk yourself through it.
That's actually unfair of me to judge her so much more critically based on her appearance than I ever would any male politician, for a picture in the thumbnail, right?
Right.
Like, this is true.
I mean,
they are bad about it.
Yeah, like this is one of those things when, you know, I know more cynical political people on the left, and even liberals will, you know, consider the Democratic Party sometimes, you know, controlled opposition. And I think the media has created an environment where it certainly seems that way. I think the more I come to understand their policies, especially when you're talking about, as really if they've the last 10 or so years really dug in and started improving their ground game in local politics, I don't think that's entirely fair. And especially as Republican politics has become just outrageous.
I'm going to remove our audio avatars, so don't freak out whenever those go away in a second. Okay.
Okay.
So just saying. All right. We'll still be audible, just not visible.
Okie dokie.
All right.
Oh, where'd I go?
There we are.
Oh, there I am. Hi, me.
There we are. Fuck yeah. Now we're a news show.
Now we're the FAP News channel.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, that's it takes some mindfulness, man, being aware of your biases and like, you know, trying to be consistent.
Well, and like I genuinely think that I certainly like her more than Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think there is a level of Hillary Clinton is a political creature in a way that I don't think Kamala Harris is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've had so much attention on Hillary Clinton that, like, well, not all of it was warranted. It has exposed all of her flaws in a way that she probably didn't. Well, okay, let me back up. In a way that every politician deserves. I think every politician, especially running for the presidency, should get that level of scrutiny. Yeah, that's the other thing is, yeah, Bob, you're right, that Harris does not have a 30-year cottage industry devoted to
that is such a good point, man. Yeah, because it is tempting. It has been tempting for me to be like, oh, she's got a lot of people that don't like her too, but that's not the same thing as what they have for
not in the same way. That's a really good point, Bob. I appreciate that. Question is if one can ever be president without crapping on some.
What do you mean by crapping on some people?
Yeah, that's could you clear that question up?
You're talking about, I mean, R. Kelly's not running.
I get that, like, the nature of the American federal government is someone's getting crapped on all the time, and there's only so much you can do about that. Unless, I guess, you're John Roberts, in which case you can just increase the level of crap. You can't, like, lower it. Well, and I think even the border thing is that they don't really have that because, like, the Biden executive order is in place, and she has the benefit of she can go out and campaign now while he still runs the show.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. We've all wanted a candidate who isn't 1,000 years old, and she is not. I think she's in her 50s.
Yeah. I guess, like, I don't know that the difficult thing of governance is that some people will always feel like they're getting crapped on. And then some people might actually be getting crapped on. Some people might feel like they are, and they're really not. They're just kind of being whiners. You know, it's that's kind of the thing with governance, right? Is it wouldn't be such a big deal if you wouldn't pay attention to it if there wasn't, like, at least perceived to be someone who's going to get the short end of the stick sometimes.
When I think of, like, you look at all of the, like, the Jan 6 people who have been convicted of crimes on Jan 6 or for January 6th. People consider them political prisoners, right? In their mind, they're being shit on. And, like, yeah, they probably should be. Sorry. Maybe don't overthrow democracy, you assholes.
That's not actually accurate, Reggie. The reason that they got denied is because Trump told them not. They would have voted for it, but Trump told them not to pass it.
Yeah,
because that was the only thing that he would have against Biden come November. If they would have passed that, that would have actually maybe done something about the, not saying it would have been good, but it might have prevented some of the, the immigration that's happening.
Well, and it's weird that, like, they kind of regrouped for a while, and then suddenly it was on to DEI, and from there they pivoted to Biden's age.
So Crawling Chaos, I mean, I get what you're saying, man, but this begins to be where, like, in Joe Rogan territory, where it's like, and there is some truth to it, right? Like, who the fuck would want to have that kind of power? There's something wrong with them. You know what I mean? You can't trust. But I mean, that leads to, that's a doomerist kind of a path to go down, man.
Like, unfortunately, the system we live in requires that sort of person to keep that sort of person, but awful, out of office.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not that she's not, like, if we're going to be the most doomer about her that I'm willing to be, even if she's a monster, she's our monster.
Like, maybe she's not somebody that you would want to, like, be married to.
Right. I wouldn't want to be
maybe
married to her.
Right. But, like, that's not what we're doing here. It's
Right.
like,
I would like her to do a job.
Yeah. It's like, if you ever had a job where you had a manager or boss or whatever that's like, he's kind of a dick, or she's kind of a dick, but, like, man, they know how to get shit done. You know what I mean? Like, it's not ideal. They're, at least as long as they're not abusive, then it's kind of like, okay, you look, we make good money. My hours are good. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. You can take the good and then, you know.
Yeah, to
shrug
build off
the
that
dickishness.
analogy, like I used to be a manager. I quit that job because I hated being a manager. But we had hard-ass managers who would focus on getting the job done. And we had loudmouth managers who would just complain the job wasn't getting done.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump is the latter. Because the whole Republican philosophy, going back to our coverage on Ronald Reagan, is that the whole point is to not get anything done, but to just talk a lot about getting it done.
Yeah, they hate. That's like I was in the clip I played before the stream with talking about Project 2025.
Yeah,
they hate government, and they want to reduce it to, like, just the bare bones minimum, and that's why they get in office, so they can fucking completely clog it up and make it, you know, essentially have no function other than, you know, benefiting the richest people, and then also military. But yeah,
well, and really benefiting the military industrial complex, because the higher ups get cushy, you know, consulting gigs, while the Republicans, like in Project 2025, they want to cut VA spending. They want to cut veterans benefits. They don't really care about the military. They care about the companies that arm the military. Speaking of which, because this is going to be the new talking point, so listen up, folks, while we're talking about Project 2025. The Republican Party is already in the process of beginning to distance themselves from that.
can't let them.
But also, like, the thing that you want to direct people to now as part of that is Agenda 47, which is the Trump campaign version of that with some slightly watered down language, but largely it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But just when you talk to a Republican who's like, oh, but Trump distanced himself from that, and I'm like, well, no, you need to compare his Agenda 47 to Project 2025, and these are the same picture.
Yeah.
But just, I want everyone to be aware that that's going to be the language that shifts, and to be prepared for it.
And they've probably been preparing to do this exact tactic, because they put the Project 2025's info out like a year ago, and so they knew that they were putting it out early so that their people could really get a read of it.
I also think the hope, and I'm going to give the Democratic Party a little bit of credit for this. I think their hope was that everyone would see it and make a big deal about it, and wear the topic out. And while I think liberal and certain online left spheres made everyone else aware, the party really stayed off of it until a couple weeks ago. And I think that was genuinely the right thing to do.
See, instinct would be to say agree with you, but I think that they did that with some forethought. I think that they realized that they needed to get people on, you know, to support it. They need to get, you know, their voters to realize, oh, this is what they're offering, because they don't offer anything really. But this is what they're actually offering this time is this agenda.
Well, and I also think that there is a segment of Republican donors who find all the pageantry and attention anathema to how they normally operate. And Project 2025 tells them this is the end goal of all this in a way that reassures the donor class that they're getting what they paid for. Because after all, I mean, they treat politicians they donate to like independent contractors. That's a person on the payroll.
Is that right? Didn't know about that.
Yeah, if you could get us some detail on that, that would be
I
interesting.
do want to just go ahead and just get at this little thing here, right here, Esben, because look, yeah, I mean, if maybe you're not familiar with this channel, but being too uncivil is not something I've ever been accused of. I mean, you know, or too civil or whatever. Like, you know, I mean,
I'm the civil one.
Yeah, I'm the one that told somebody I'd grape their whole family. Apparently
so.
Okay, so look, what you're saying here is essentially that it seems to be, because you're not being you're using kind of Weasley language. So let me try and parse that. Is that Biden is genocidal, and that hopefully she won't be as genocidal. Well, how is Biden genocidal exactly? You know, I mean, this is the thing. It's like, can we use words that are actually more effective and mean things that we can engage with, or does everything have to be super hyperbolic and like, you know, because eventually words don't mean anything anymore. Because Biden had started to, at least twice that I know of. And no, is this enough? Fuck no. Is this like saving lives? No, absolutely not. But Biden had questioned and challenged the methods of the Israeli government when it comes to Gaza,
right?
In recent months, and he might even. It's a good chance he might even do that even more now because he's but who knows?
He's free. He's free of a lot of those issues.
But like, what is the practical purpose of like really going at Biden for not just disengage? There's a lot of stuff entangled there, and I'm not saying I agree with any of it or anything like that. I'm just saying that there's a lot of interests that are tied up in support of Israel. Not to mention just sunk costs and everything. A lot of stuff that just goes into the fucking the nest of hold on, let me think of how I want to phrase this. The volatility of the Middle East in general, with Israel being right there at the center of it. All of these things are far beyond my fucking pay grade as far as understanding, foreign policy. But the fact is it's not as simple as just like, all right, we're not supporting Israel anymore. Like, perhaps we could be more effective if we continue supporting them in urging them to, reduce the bullshit that they're doing or stop the bullshit that they're doing, the genocide that they're doing. But I mean, nonetheless, at the end of the day, all of this is prefaced on the assumption that like what Trump is going to be better.
So yeah, here is my take on this. One, Trump has already like actively cheered on the genocide, right? Trump has had genocidal things to say. Has the American government, and going back decades, enabled and facilitated genocide against the Palestinians by the Israeli government? Yes. Does that mean the United States government is genocidal? That's putting a lot of intention into realpolitik.
Yeah, how is he not? I mean, he's literally not. Okay, so if Biden is doing genocide, what is Israel doing?
What, like, yeah, that's the other thing is like, what's the term for what Israel's doing? Because Biden has been trying to push for ceasefires that the Gazan government has supported and the Netanyahu administration has shut down. So, like, we could talk about, is Biden being ineffectual? Yeah, that's up for debate.
Yeah.
Is Biden actively genocidal?
No.
I think you have to prove that to me. You have to show intent, where, like, we can show the intent with Netanyahu. We can show the intent with Trump.
And what it comes
We
down
can
to
show-
is whenever you're using that kind of language and you're you know, it's flat out saying that Biden has genocidal intent for Palestinians, which of course there's no fucking proof of, and it's not even, it's bullshit. So what that does is it seems like you're just using this very fucking real, very deadly, very tragic, fucking awful, fucked up situation just to kind of get some points online. You know, I don't want to accuse you of doing that, but I want you to consider that it might appear that way.
Well, and I also think that, like, it's important to note that, like, the coverage of this from the left and center has been bad for Biden. And he has not actively supported the Israeli effort. He's tried to walk a fine line of supporting a long-term ally, because that's the sort of structuralist Biden is, and not making the problem worse. And that's like, I'm glad I'm not president. I don't want to think about how to make that work. Don't put that on my desk. But like, I think it's a little more complicated than that, man.
Yep.
And it boils it back down to this both sides bad rhetoric, when, like, we know one of them is cheering the genocide on. We know one of them isn't, and we know that one of
decisions, you know, one side will do something, or can at least be pushed to do something, to say something to, you know, stop what's going on, whereas the other side is just going to fucking cheer it on. And,
right.
Yeah. Please think beyond, like, just like how I don't want to, like, I hate being put in this position because I have a hard time, like, telling people that their humanitarian concern is actually misplaced, because it's not. Like, you're right to be concerned, but just, you also have to apply some goddamn you know, a little bit longer lens to things.
Is the Oopsie Doopsie episode we had on October 7th still up somewhere? Is that on the FAPcast page?
I think maybe. I forget.
Because I would go back, so here's a funny story. I don't know if you were listening back then. Asbin. We planned an episode to talk about how the American evangelical movement supports Israel because they want a genocide in that region. And so, like, they're going to cheer it on with literal religious fervor. And we were talking about that literally day zero of this. And we looked at, like, the religious YouTubers who were putting out shorts going, this is it. This is the end times. Hoorah.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good point. Like, yeah, there is no, like, if that's how you see genocide, there is no viable non-genocide candidate. But there is a candidate that isn't going to genocide immigrants and LGBT folks and black folks and labor unions. Like, we've seen this play out before. We know how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, that kind of, Bob's comment highlights the fact that you're really kind of using the word genocide as like a thought-terminating cliche.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by mentioning that, it's almost the same similar tactic as being like, oh, groomer, because, you know, or whatever, like accusing somebody of being a pedo based on nothing or whatever, just like, because you're that kind of word just takes all the fucking attention and sucks it up. And any decent person is going to fucking feel some feelings about that.
Okay,
you know
so
I mean?
This isn't minimizing. This is the conditions on the ground.
You can offer, look, everything we've just said, if you'd like to offer a counter to it, that's fine. But like just describing it as minimizing and what about his approach is bullshit. That's not what we said.
Yeah.
The fact is, I'm not saying that this is anything is going to get the we have not presented what we think is going to stop the genocide. That's not what we've done. That's what we hope for. But honestly, I don't have a lot of fucking hope for that.
So here's the thing. Okay, let's look at the candidates as they are. Right? We all know what Trump and Harris are about on this. We all know, more or less on Harris, but certainly on Trump. Let's talk about RFK Jr. RFK Jr. doesn't have a foreign policy. He's just gonna business as usual, which is going to be passive support for the nation of Israel with whatever they do to whoever they do it to. The Green Party. The Green Party gets their money from some sketchy places. And even if they were to cut off funding from Israel, they would also cut off funding for Ukraine, which, oopsie doopsie, there's more genocide. Okay, all right, well, what about the Libertarian Party? Oh, it's the same problem. But they would actually cut off the funding to Israel.
Because they don't give a fuck about anybody but themselves.
But right. But that also means cutting off, food aid and family planning aid that the United States government does around the world that Biden brought back because Republicans, day one, usually sign an order saying that, our foreign aid dollars can't go to help, proper family planning, education, or care. And Biden and Democrats undo that day one. And so you are going to see an increase of the AIDS epidemic in Africa again under a Republican president or under a Libertarian president. And oopsie doopsie, that's a genocide.
Yeah, I mean, you said you don't think that our approach is valid any more than anything else. Okay, so just explain to us real quick, if you don't mind, what is the path to the desired result?
Right.
Tell us, step-by-step plan. How to get there.
Yeah, I would say he's complicit, sure. But so would any other person in that office.
It should make us all uncomfortable that we are governed by a government that, no matter what, maybe that's why. Maybe you have a hard time wrestling with the fact that you in some way are connected to the powers that are complicit. But the fact is that's not going to change with the options that we have right now. What we can hope for is that maybe Harris, like Bob had said earlier, maybe Harris will be a little bit more firm with Netanyahu and be able to form some kind of coalition of other people calling for, but I don't know.
She doesn't have, especially because she doesn't come from national politics in the same way that Biden does. She does not have the decades of structural loyalty to the state of Israel,
right,
that Biden does.
Well,
and she also, Biden had this thrown in his lap a year before re-election, and she will have 4 years to untangle that. Whereas Trump will give Israel whatever they want to level Palestine, and not just Gaza. Because one thing that's part of this is that the Israelis are going to go after the West Bank and have been. And under Trump, it got worse before, and it will get worse again.
Actually, really? I didn't even know that. That's
fascinating.
I believe it. I did want to take a pause real quick to promote something for next Saturday.
Ooh.
Gonna have a special stream next Saturday because it's been demanded by 3 or 4 people.
Nice.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, look, I asked you for another path. You haven't done it. You're just being pedantic about definitions now. Okay. So next Saturday, Organized Chaos and I shall be doing a live stream, and it will be finally reviewing the debate that we had with PSA Sitch and Adam Friended on February 14th, 2023.
Oh, wow.
We'll be reviewing that, but there's more. We'll have a special guest.
Oh.
Special guest being a guy who I've been in contact with, and I'd say even kind of become somewhat friends with over recent months. He has, made his way out of being pretty deep in part of that community, the Sitch and Adam community. And he's hasn't, he's kind of worked his way to the point where he's ready to talk about some things, and he's definitely been talking about things, calling them out on Twitter X and whatnot lately. And I'm fucking proud of him because he's made come a long way, and he's done that partly by my content and other initiative content, which I consider a fucking badge of honor myself. And he's a very smart guy. And he's got some good things to say. So some good insights, I should say, to what these guys are about. And so we're probably talking about that. I mean, we'll definitely talk about that. We'll also kind of tangentially, but related, talk about just centrism and these types of fucking centrists that do a lot of heavy lifting for the right.
Right. So I actually want to address Esben's last point. I have some bad news for Esben. So if you can pull that up for me.
Yeah.
All right. So Esben, correct me if I'm wrong. You're an American. You use a gasoline-powered vehicle and/or other natural resource form to get your electricity. You're on the grid somewhere, I imagine. You are and have been your whole life participating in the genocide of the indigenous people of North America.
Oof.
And we all have been, and we don't talk about it. So if we're just going to call everyone genocidal, then welcome to the club, pal. You can either reduce the harm or accept it and be part of it. But you can't pretend it doesn't exist and that there's a easy solution to the problem. We are advocating for a nuanced take to, as best we can, reduce the harm as we can.
So let's see. Right here, I've got some quotes. So this is from June. So this was earlier in that period, a couple months ago. Trump reportedly told donors behind closed doors that he would pursue a zero tolerance policy with respect to what he reportedly referred to as the radical revolution that has swept U.S. college campuses in recent months. So that's not even just like having a bad take on Gaza. That's also like he's going to do something about it to free speech and fucking demonstration here in the U.S. All right, there's that. Have protesters deported, which probably isn't something he could do, but like maybe he could.
I mean, as is, it is illegal to deport a United States citizen, but they will try.
Well, if you get me elected, and you should really be doing this, if you get me reelected, we're going to set that movement back 25 or 30 years. Is that what you're wanting instead of, genocidal Biden or Harris or whatever? Because that seems like the other. Because once again, only two options. Trump, who routinely touts his support for Israel more broadly, has reportedly said he supports Israel in its continued war on terror. And yeah, I mean, but we don't. Yeah, I mean, yes, sure, that's true, but like we don't have that. So let's time to move on. Put on your big boy pants or girl pants, whatever you are. I don't want to assume, but put on your big pants.
Okay, well, Kamala hasn't talked a lot about Israel at all, so she hasn't had a lot of nice things to say about them either. So yeah, that if she, as is, she is less enthusiastic about supporting Israel, that's the person you're looking for.
By that account, it's clear that Trump would be harsher on protesters and hug Israel even tighter than Biden. Yeah. But that's the thing too, is that Biden was all that fucking focus on Biden being genocidal was allowing Trump to not get any criticism for his fucking much more extreme take.
Right.
So, ooh, Project 2025, the myths and the facts. What's that about? I'll look at that on my own time. Sorry. Unless we wanted to talk about that more specifically now.
Let's do it. Let's hit it.
Okay. Well, let me boop.
Boop.
There we go. Got the new background representing that. So this is Vox. They're progressive leaning, left of center biased outlet that generally does report in facts. Then they had their editorializing is often more in line with things I agree with, but not always. So I'm just going to read this article because I haven't read it before. Let's see what it says.
Let's do it on screen.
In talk about what a second presidential term for Donald Trump might bring, one name has become the shorthand for all horrifying things that might await Project 2025. It's been called authoritarian and dystopian. It's the talk of TikTok. Some Democrats see it as the ace in the hole that could save President Joe Biden's struggling re-election campaign. Womp womp. But Trump is now claiming implausibly to know nothing about it. So what is it? It's the conservative movement's detailed and specific plan for what the next Republican president should do with his power, including his preparation to put that plan into action. Basically, it's an attempt to make the second Trump term way more organized and effective than the first. Organized by the right-wing think tanks like the Heritage Foundation and advised by more than 100 conservative groups. It's put forth a 922-page list of policy recommendations going agency by agency in the federal government. It's not a pie-in-the-sky policy agenda full of bold but empty promises. It is crafted to be a list of things the next president's appointees really can do, put together by many people who served in top posts under Trump last time and could well do so again. It's also collecting a database of names of conservatives who could take jobs in Trump's second term. But what does it say? So from here, I think I'd rather maybe switch over to that document. What do you think?
Sure, hit it.
Just because I'm more familiar with it. I don't want to. I mean, I guess this looks fine, but
if you like the other one, go for it.
All right, let me pull that sucker up.
I just noticed the Forced Adversity podcast and in parentheses news.
In quotes, yeah.
In quotes, yeah. That's fucking fantastic.
Hey, look, we're honest,
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. So this is from the David Pakman Show.
The good old David Pakman Show.
It's a comprehensive initiative aimed at dramatically reshaping the U.S. federal government in the event of a Republican victory. Revolves replacing existing federal civil servants with individuals loyal to former President Trump and aligned with GOP objectives, with the goal of solidifying conservative control over the executive branch. The Heritage Foundation has been releasing its Mandate for Leadership series in sync with each presidential election since 1981, often referred to as a policy Bible. In 2022, Heritage President Kevin Roberts launched Project 2025 to support the 2024, blah, 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 blah. In fact, I have a thing here. Let's check this out real quick. Yeah.
I come full circle in this response and just want to encourage you with some substance that we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
Okay, well, I mean, look, to be fair, I thought there would be more than that. I don't know that those white nationalist folks have anything to do with the Heritage Foundation.
Well,
it that looks to be just some propaganda. That's not to say that it's not accurate propaganda to what could happen as far as like the people that would be permitted to, have their way with the country.
If you look at historically how these things go, right? When we have looked at other violent groups before, often what you have is a soft state endorsement. And so when what's his nuts says if the liberals allow us, this is going to be a bloodless revolution.
Yeah, that's a really concerning thing to say.
What that means is that you are going to have the firebrands saying that X liberal group or group considered liberal is standing in the way. And more than likely, at least initially, no state violence will occur to them, but it will be groups like that were marching that will carry out the violence on behalf of the state.
Well, and we've already seen this happening with Proud Boys.
Yeah.
With the election last time, right? Like,
Right.
stand back and stand by,
Right.
Infamously. And like, so the thing is that they use terms like mandate for leadership, right? And then revolution. And both of those words, implicitly, explicitly indicate that they're like, there's just mass support for what they were wanting to do. Right. And there's really not. The Project 2025 stuff, that's just for, a few generations now, a couple of generations anyway, been what, conservative think tanks informed by, we have to get into this a whole other episode. Was it Opus DEI or whatever?
Opus Dei. Opus DEI. Yeah.
Like there's definitely a lot of Catholic, like a rebellion of Catholic folks behind this.
What's funny is that the Pope just excommunicated one of the big bishops that was, I don't know if he was involved in Opus Dei specifically, but was certainly a strong ally of Catholic conservatism. He excommunicated that guy. Which, to be fair, the Pope said I was more dangerous than nuclear weapons, but he hasn't excommunicated me yet. So,
okay, come on, Esmond. Now I don't take you seriously at all, man. Because like, you're actually thinking that someone on the right is really distinguishing in his mind between liberals and the left, because they don't do that.
Yeah. No, dude,
they don't fucking do that. It's all the same to them. It's all the same to him. I guarantee you. Like, if you think
liberal, leftist, Democrat, socialist, communist, union member all mean the same thing to that guy.
Yep. Commie, groomer, like it's all the same. Woke, DEI advocate,
right?
Like, it's just an amorphous blob to them of like the enemy, and that's crazy, man. Oh well, cool. That's cool. I can appreciate that. But you can get the fuck out of here now. All right. So, exactly. I mean, yeah. You did have that, didn't you?
Right.
Back in the day. What day was that?
And
yeah. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. I would love the American conservative Catholic movement to declare their own pope. I would love that. We haven't had an anti-pope in a long time. We should have an anti-pope.
Like have like a war and stuff. That'd be cool. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, that used to be a thing that happened. Is like that was a thing that like someone would be declared pope, and then someone else would declare themselves pope, and then you like they would sort it out through violence, and politicking, and then the one that lost that would become like historically considered an anti-pope.
Just a quick side thing. I just got a text.
Sure.
I've been getting a lot of texts.
Yeah, me too.
So this one says it's got a very nice photo. If I'm being sexist, it's very nice, attractive photo of Kamala Harris here. I'm running to be president of the United States. I'm honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination. In the coming days, as I hit the campaign trail to meet with Americans and lay out the choice in front of voters in the fall, I cannot imagine two more starkly different visions for where we want our country to go. We can choose the dark path of Project 2025 with less freedom and more division, or we can choose to pull together and do the work for the people. These are not ordinary times, and this will not be an ordinary election. This is our America, and I need you with me in this fight. So I have to ask, will you pitch in your first $20? No, I'm not doing that right now. But still, I was just wanted to kind of get in. That's the first vibe from her that I've gotten as official candidate, right? So
nice.
Wanted to
see I haven't gotten anything from her yet.
And generally, that seems to be a pretty sensible, starting message, I suppose. Other than asking me for money, like, what are you talking about? Give me some money. Anyway. Where were we? Oh yeah, this thing. So this is what we were talking about here. With published in April 2023, it was authored by hundreds of conservatives, including many former Trump officials, with significant funding from conservative donor Leonard Leo, who, I'm by the way, going forward, we're probably going to be touching back on this thing until November, and then
oh yeah,
I would be like do little asides. There won't have a whole episode really about it probably again, but might do like a little segment where we kind of just like, who the fuck is this Leonard Leo? What is this Opus Dei thing?
Yeah. The Opus Dei thing will be a fun follow up on our Who Shot JFK episode. Well, and it wasn't really about who shot JFK. It was about the Catholic Church and their schism over JFK. But that movement is what pushed American religious conservatives to the right pretty heavily. We talked about that.
I want to grab this link that Reggie just dropped in the chat because that definitely seems interesting. I kind of can't really believe that I'm reading what it says, but we'll see.
Let's see. Excuse me one sec.
All right, so Newsweek. Whoa. Nikki Haley voters pack announces support for Kamala Harris.
I mean, after she fucking kissed his dick last week.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they all kissed his dick. Everyone at that conference kissed the dick.
But apparently, this voters pack was actually had some fucking standards that they were just like, no, fuck this.
That pack is just like we were trying to prop you up. Nah, fuck you.
Coalition of former Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley's voters pledged to their support for.
That's awesome.
Hours after Joe Biden announced he was dropping out of the race, Biden announced on Sunday afternoon in a letter, blah, 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 blah. The Political Action Committee, previously known as Haley Voters for Biden. Oh, so okay, I see. So they're already for. I got you. All right.
Okay, so they were Haley voters. They moved to support Biden. They have moved to support Harris.
Yeah, I thought it was more dramatic than that, but yeah, they were already going to basically be doing that. So
that's actually a really good sign that this pack has followed, because it's a Republican pack, has followed Harris.
I wonder how closely aligned they are with the what you call it, the Lincoln Project.
Project Lincoln,
guys.
yeah, Lincoln Project, yeah. I don't know.
All right. Well, there's that. Cool.
Also, fuck Nikki Haley, and not in a fun way.
Yeah, right. What's her deal? It just fucking sucks. That's what it is.
She's a coward.
True, but I mean, I really didn't expect much.
No, I mean, I expected everything has played out as I have foreseen it, as far as her campaign went. So,
yeah. So okay. So the Trump campaign emphasizes Agenda 47 as the only official plan for a second Trump term, but it remains appreciative of input from like-minded groups. And the whole distancing himself from 2025 is pretty silly, considering all of the former Trump administration officials, and then also literal current vice presidential running mate, who is a Heritage Foundation guy, that are involved with it, right?
I heard someone call him a failed eyeliner model, and I can't unsee it.
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
Yeah, if you were gonna vote for Biden, you should be voting for Harris. Sorry.
I wonder is Agenda 47 going to be implemented by Agent 47? Isn't that the hitman guy?
The hitman guy, yeah. My brain is so cooked, man.
I'm sorry, this is a stupid joke. I don't even know why I went for it. Honestly, it's just word association at this point.
It's word association. It's fine. It's all good.
At its core, Project 2025 is built on a maximalist interpretation of the unitary executive theory, which posits that the president should have absolute authority over the executive branch. This theory challenges the traditional balance of power between the branches of government, contending that all executive power should be concentrated in the hands of the president, thereby granting them direct control over all federal agencies and their actions, which is that's just dictatorship, man. I don't know how it's not, especially considering the recent Supreme Court ruling. How does that not make it a dictatorship? Can anybody explain that? Maybe I'm just being a little dramatic.
Okay, so it's only a dictatorship if the president is Republican. because the Supreme Court cut out we can say otherwise, which that they will always say that the Democrat is abusing their power and never the Republican, just based on everything they've done so far.
Let's see. Yeah, so I mean, it is in line with Trump, who, if you remember the 4 years of his, I know we all like to block that out, but he was constantly bumping up against the edges of his ability as president.
Right.
In trying things, it was. I mean, I can't tell you how many times there was in the news some question of like, can he do that? More or less, like, we'll see, I guess.
The answer was always effectively. Like, because there was always a yes man, right? Like he replaced his attorney general because he couldn't make Robert Mueller toe the line.
Oh, it's a Cheney thing, huh? Well, I mean, I think it comes from before Cheney, to be honest. Unless you're talking about young Cheney, because it's been around a while, I think. That theory. So, federal agency restructuring, drastic funding cuts for the DOJ. Imagine that. He really is not happy with the DOJ right now, as if he ever was, unless it was, basically once Comey said, hey, yeah, we're not going to be doing what you tell us to do.
Right.
He's like, okay, the DOJ sucks then.
I hate the DOJ, right?
Hate it now. I'm going to fucking kill it.
With
military
fire.
Deployment. Okay, like, guys, do you understand that the thing that makes the military different from the police is this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the distinction between the cops and military, is that military, other than, in rare cases of National Guards being deployed, is not something that operates on domestic soil and against its own people.
Right. And that is not, the United States military is not, like, it violates their mandate.
This is essentially creating an SS.
Right. I mean, that's the idea.
Economic policies. The initiative includes significant tax cuts. Great. Deregulation. Great. Right?
No.
Particularly favoring the fossil fuel industry. So not only would we have fascism, we'd also just be like hitting the fucking gas toward fucking climate extinction.
Well, and not only that, we are at a point with fossil fuels where we are not getting any more efficient. The diminishing returns on that technology seems to have been hit. And so the thing to do, if you are a smart person who believes in protecting the place you live, in finding more efficient ways to use energy, to protect the planet, to support the free market, would be to not do this.
Yeah.
So whenever Republicans talk about how they're the party of free markets, also a lie.
Oh, sorry. We skipped over real quick. My bad. So there, in the second one here, there's also endorses the use of the Insurrection Act of 1807 to suppress dissent and target political adversaries. So this one and this one, just the first two,
yeah,
that limits, almost effectively destroys any ability to advocate for progress.
Right.
It's gone. Like, this isn't like the kind of thing where like, well, Trump's, might as well just let Trump win and then we'll fucking fight him and then we'll advocate for socialism. No, man, you're fucking stupid.
You and what machine guns? You and what drones? You and what collateral damage?
Meanwhile, corporations are going to fucking continue to fucking get stupid rich. That is the one thing that is in the broadest sense the same between the two parties. Yes,
right.
Both parties are corporate friendly now, but then you start getting more granular about the differences, and there is some pretty big.
There is some differences,
and
we've talked about this before. Biden is effectively the most pro-union president in a century.
Seeks to restrict federal funding for scientific research. Great. So we're just going to kill science too. Just fucking cap it in the head. No more science. No more learning shit or exploring, ways to make life better for anybody. Fuck all that.
Yeah, we are as a gut, like, as government policy, we'd want to discourage innovation. That's not a long-term way to run a country. That's not a short-term way to run a country.
It's a fascist way to run a country.
It's a fascist. It's specifically a religious fascist way to run a country.
Meanwhile, I wonder if he's going to do like Hitler did and start like looking into fucking different mythologies and stuff and trying to find if any of them are true. You know, he's going to have expeditions all out of, you know, various places.
Right. He's going to be trying to find Atlantis.
Right. Because I mean, for those that aren't aware, like there's the, like in Captain America, the first Avenger, how they, you know, there's the Tesseract, Red Skull goes and finds that. Well, that's all fiction, obviously, but it's based in some fact that they were interested in finding, like, you know, ancient artifacts and stuff that they could potentially use and shit like that, because they were insane. The Nazis were crazy.
The Nazis had this blend of thinking that there was super weapons that they could make to win the war without having to work too hard at it, because fascists are lazy.
Yep.
And also this eugenics mythologizing they did, that, like, because they were descended from the Aryan race, they had to prove that existed to themselves. And so you had a lot going on there.
Well, but maybe they want good things for, like, education. Let's see. Plan proposes abolishing the Department of Education and transferring control to the states. This could lead to varied education policies and funding levels across the country, reducing federal oversight and potentially increasing disparity. Not potentially. I mean, it just would. Potentially, I realize that you have that you're writing a responsible document. You need to use words like that, but it just would.
It would
lead to that. Reproductive rights. They're going to expand them. Nope. Rejects abortion as healthcare and seeks to restrict access to contraception, reflecting a socially conservative stance with significant implications for women's reproductive health and family planning. Cool.
Well, I want to touch on education quick.
Yeah, sorry.
The school choice movement and the voucher movement has been one of the most costly wealth transfers in the history of the country.
What do you mean by that?
So in a system where if you were going to go to school, all of the tax dollars would go to public schools. With our voucher system in many states, how that works is you pay into your taxes and you can effectively transfer that to private schools. And often those are religious schools. So now, in a lot of places, what happens is I pay in for a public good, public schools, right? If you own property in most of the country, you pay property taxes. And one of the things that pays for is public education. School vouchers, school choice, what that does is it says you as a parent who probably already has money, because often it's not enough to cover the full tuition at a private school. You can take that money that is paid by everyone into the public coffers for a public good and give it to a private institution, often a religious one. So your tax dollars are going to religious institutions through school choice. And often to the detriment, or not exclusively, but to the detriment of poor and middle class and working class people. And to the benefit of the sorts of people who you would think attend a private school. And yeah, that's the thing, is that the standards for private education are wildly inconsistent.
Yes. That's one of the reasons why there's so many people like that, you know, generally conservatives, but there's some more on the left-hand side too that are like, you know, how did they end up in this position of power when they're clearly such fucking morons? Well, they probably went to private school.
Yeah.
You know, and then, yeah. So, like, this is true. Where is it? yeah, keep indoctrination in the conservative states. That's the first step of it. The second step would be that, like, then, you know, eventually these schools, probably, you know, backed by a lot of money and giant corporations of some kind, would then move into less conservative areas, and, you know, then basically make it to where there's no choice but a more conservative private school or charter school or whatever. And then you're creating conservatives everywhere where there used to be none or fewer, right?
Right. So here's the thing about, like, when we talk about conservative states, liberal states, right, is I'll use Illinois as an example because it's a very visually easy example. Like, geographically, much of Illinois is conservative.
Right.
But you have the Chicago metropolitan area that is densely populated and very progressive.
Oregon's the same way.
Yeah. Wisconsin is to some extent, right? That's not an uncommon thing to have. And so, because often states have a hand in how this money gets doled out, they get to set the regulations. If, you know, I'll use myself as an example because I'm about to be paying property taxes there if everything goes according to plan. If my property taxes are going into Milwaukee, the state allows that money to be taken elsewhere. So money that should be invested into Milwaukee's education system will be going somewhere else. It will leave the city. It will leave the county. And that's the same thing in Illinois. So,
I mean,
yeah.
first of all, they don't even pronounce the S, so there's already a problem with the schooling there.
And yeah, that's another thing that Bob points out with California, right? Is that, like, people sleep on exactly, like, the size of the conservative population of California. And this is one of the things when I'm talking to conservatives about electoral college reform and election reform is, like, if you're a conservative in California, there's more of you than there are conservatives in, like, 5 or 6 other states. Like, the population of those states, not just the conservatives. But your voice doesn't fucking matter.
Can I do a quick little personal anecdote real quick on homeschooling?
Hit it. All
right. So when I was I guess I was 16, something like that. So,
Sure.
you know, I had a lot of stuff happening in life, but primarily that, like, not long before this point that I'm going to talk about, my mom had passed away. You know, that along with, like, already having a childhood that was pretty tumultuous and stuff, like, I wasn't doing so great. And, you know, on top of making bad decisions, I was just, like, in bad conditions and such. And so, like, hold on a second. Shit.
All right, vamp clock. All right.
Okay, I'm back.
All right, welcome back.
I just had to shut up my my Alexa thing. All right, so you know, I hated school. I got to the point where, like, I was in high school and I didn't fucking like it. I didn't like that, like, in junior year, basically, because, like, freshman, sophomore year, I had a lot of classes with my few little handful of buddies. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We got lucky on that regard. Junior year comes along, I didn't have shit with anybody. It was just like I just felt like I was in a completely different school suddenly, and, like, I didn't like any of my teachers. Of course, a lot of this was informed by fucking depression and stuff like that. But
sure,
nonetheless, I decided I didn't want to go to school anymore. And I told my parents, I'm like, hey, I just want to drop out and get my GED because fuck this shit, stupid. And they were like, no. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, so then what I ended up doing was this kid had been bullying me for, like, a couple of years, really. Like, basically every time he would see me in the hallway, he would just fucking fuck with me and try and fight me and stuff. And I would try and get out of it.
Kids suck.
And finally I was just like, well, okay, I guess I'm going to give him what he wants. And, you know, I went up behind him while he was at his locker and just unzipped his backpack while it was on his back. And, like, all of his shit just fucking spilled out. And then, you know, he turns around and I fucking hit him, and then he hits me and we're fighting. You know, and then I got kicked out of school.
Right.
And so, you know, my dad reluctantly was like, well, we're going to put you in homeschool. And I'm like, well, that's not exactly what I wanted, but okay, at least I don't have to go to that place. So then I'm in homeschool, and I didn't realize it first until, you know, but so what it was Living Waters Christian Academy.
And that's a far right religious education.
This was the thing that, like, literally the English books, the reading books, you know, the social studies were like, you know, some people say that evolution is, but that's bullshit.
Right.
You know, like, there was stuff about Jesus in the math book. Okay.
Fuck.
Yeah. So that's the kind of shit, and that is like as Reggie said here is highlighted. That shit is. It's just wait, no, that's
Yeah,
not the right
like
one. Shit.
there are
I mean,
some kids that homeschooling is great for.
This is the
And
one.
we need the governmental infrastructure to make those successful. And
it is not regulated. You can just do whatever the fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be accredited. Of course, to actually have say that someone graduated or have something worth going to, a college with or whatever. But like, yeah, they the people that get accredited have money, and that includes far right fucking church organizations. Yeah, this is not.
Here is what I can tell you about my Catholic education. It was so bad that my memories begin when I left Catholic school. Like I hardly remember anything from before I was 14. My first like linear memory of like events following in a sequence is at my orientation when I transferred high schools in my junior year to a public high school. That's the first like whole day I can remember in my life, and I was 14 years old. So I don't have a lot of good things to say about Catholic education.
Yeah, that's fucking shit. Was there? I'm not surprised.
I'm not. Yeah, I
They
know
found
that
one in Ohio. Where are the other ones at? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, right. I know in our D&D episode way back in the OG, I told this story about a friend of mine who was a friend of mine through Scouts, who was homeschooled. Him and his siblings were homeschooled because he had 2 brothers and 3 sisters. And his dad cut him off from his friend group because I had lent them Boldar's Gate 2.
Oh God.
And his dad enjoyed it right up until he found out it was D&D, and then I was corrupting his family.
I remember you telling me about that. Holy shit.
Yeah, so.
Well, okay. So we had a little aside there. Yeah, John Oliver's done at least one on homeschooling.
Yeah.
So back to this week. Let's see.
Back to
reproductive rights. Okay, social policies. This one may be relevant to some of you.
That's just a few.
Project 2025 aims to criminalize pornography. Now we can just stop right there and see how you guys feel about that.
Yep.
Even taking it at face value, how many of you are just like, that's cool, that's fine?
Right. We should criminalize pornography. And here's a fun fact. I don't really care for porn all that much. It's not my jam. But I don't think they should criminalize fucking pornography. That's fucking dumb. Quit it.
If anybody's ever seen the movie, and maybe we need to like, you know what, I really do need to prioritize doing a watch party. Maybe this will be one that I consider doing a movie watch party for supporters and stuff. But The People versus Larry Flint.
Mm-hmm.
Larry Flint was a gross fucking guy. Like he was fucking, he was a pornographer. Not to say that's not inherently a bad thing, but he was a little bit of a gross bastard.
Right.
He was a bit of a provocateur, and I did actually appreciate some of his provocative. He went after what's his name, Falwell's, and stuff like that. That's pretty funny. How he had some piece written in the Hustler magazine about how was it Jerry Falwell lost his virginity to his mother in an outhouse or something, and he got sued for that. And they ended up going to court, and it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Back whenever they actually decided things somewhat based on reason.
Yeah, nowadays this would go the other way.
But like, there's a really good scene of like fucking what's his name? Ed Norton, great actor, early in his career, doing some good courtroom scenes where he's defending, Larry Flint's right to be a pornographer and publish what he does. And he's like flat out saying, I don't like it. It's gross. I think what he does is disgusting. You know what I mean? But like once you start doing this and you're kind of doing it based on nebulous, criteria and stuff, like where does it go next?
Right.
It is the literal definition of a slippery slope, Yeah, let's take away the video games too, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Gamers rise up.
Gamers rise up. Yeah, we're trying to do a Bannon right now and mobilize you guys.
another thing is when they say criminalize pornography, they consider the existence of a gender non-conforming person of any stripe or variety to be pornographic.
And this is the more serious big thing because, like, look, if pornography, if all of it got Thanos snapped out of existence tomorrow, look, we can still beat off, guys. We can still beat off. So,
Right.
you know, we might have to go back to your imagination, but we can do it. We'll be all right. The more serious concern is this. So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. Keep going.
Yeah, it's you're talking about like you know, the way that they say that it's just a drag performance is inherently sexual to them.
Right.
Right. Never mind the fact, meanwhile, that a lot of them have their kids in fucking beauty pageants, little girls wearing bathing suits and being judged for their how they look in a bikini. You know, never mind that shit, right?
You know, stuff Trump actually was like involved in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Peer to peer, yeah. But yeah, this it's definitely
Fucking bust out the Napster.
They definitely have LGBTQ people in mind when they talk about this. Like,
yeah.
In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if actual just regular pornography, traditional pornography, wouldn't really have a whole lot of effect on it, and that there would be more focused, at least initially, on
yeah.
you know. How they say that a teacher shouldn't talk about pronouns. They shouldn't say that they're gay to, like, it was just fucking ridiculous. Like, a teacher can't say I'm married to same gender or whatever because that inherently implies something sexual. It's like, and you think about how many teachers did you know, maybe not all of them, but you probably had at least 1-2 teachers going through school that you knew about their spouse to some degree.
Yeah,
you know,
people, you know, especially if you had a teacher who got pregnant or something, like you would just inherently find out about their spouse, right? Like,
it's the infantilization, the pseudo infantilization, because I don't think they really think that they're trying to keep kids from understanding sex exists at all.
Right.
I don't think they really think that. It's just a fucking cover for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And as Bob points out, they like, you know, they talk about protecting kids a lot for people who love making it easier for adults to marry children.
I've got a folder called what's it called?
I don't know, Dane.
Pedocon theory.
Oh, pedocon theory, yeah.
And it is full. It's not full of it's not horses or taxes or anything. It's literally just a bunch of examples of conservatives doing or saying or advocating for the thing that they're constantly railing that the left is all about or whatever.
They're railing that the left is all about that while they fantasize about railing kids.
Oh, fuck shit. Okay. God damn it.
Am I
thought
wrong?
I was the spicy one here. No, you're not wrong at all. You're absolutely right.
You're goddamn right I am.
So, and then finally, well, let's finish reading this here. So, promoting a social conservative agenda that could roll back rights, it would. Well, I mean, they've already. I mean, look, when you got a guy who the first thing he did when he got into power was fucking kick the trans people out of the military for no reason,
no good.
Whereas, like, even the fucking generals and shit were like, "What the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. Why'd you do this?" You know, he's been signaling it for a long time. And if you need any more evidence, Matt fucking Dillahunty, you fucking dipshit.
Yeah,
I got some right here.
Yeah, Matt's on my naughty list right now.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs.
See, like, he's not even hiding this. Like, he's distancing himself from 2025, but then he's just straight up like, no, this is what I'm going to do.
Well,
so there's not any doubt. There should be no doubt in your mind about what we would do with Project 2025 enacted, right?
Right. So I tried. I gave it the old college try to watch the Republican convention.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And day one, it was like back to back speeches complaining about gender and DEI. And like, okay, I don't need to do this all week.
Guys, I don't know if y'all realize this. I know Morgan does, But this podcast was essentially created to stop this.
Right.
I mean, not to say we're going to do it on our own little podcast with 39, 40
inform people
concurrent
about
viewers. But yeah, to do whatever small part we can possibly do, because this is the epitome of forced adversity. What they're doing, it is that you couldn't have a document that spells out being adverse, forcing adversity to just like generally positive things, healthy things, productive things, progressive things, good things. That's what this fucking document is. And so that's why, we're going to have to be touching back on this stuff throughout.
Well, and okay, so I want to touch back on the social conservative agenda, because I'm sure there are people listening who are like, Morgan, I get it, you're trans. But like, what does that have to do with me if I am a disabled person, if I am a person of color, if I'm an indigenous person? Well, I can't imagine that they're going to be very good for indigenous rights. I mean, they have already said in court opinions how they would also like to do things like repeal the law that protects access to birth control. The Republican Party has talked out of one side of the mouth that, we would never go after IVF. It's terrible what happened in Alabama. And then when it's brought to a vote, they vote against it.
Mm-hmm.
They have promoted getting rid of or bringing back anti-miscegenation laws, which, for those who don't know, is it used to be criminal for people to marry people who were of a different skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just bringing back eugenics, right? That's what this is. When they say promoting a conservative social agenda, it is a literal return to 19th century eugenics policies.
Because make no mistake, they're only advocating against what they know they can get away with because there's just enough support for it right now. So like they've managed to fucking drum up a good amount of, and I mean good in the worst way possible, a decent amount of sizable amount of anti-LGBTQ, primarily anti-trans and non-binary hate, but that does extend to just gay people too. Speaking of which, the guy that we're going to have as a guest next week on Saturday, he's a gay guy, and that's one of the primary reasons that he started to kind of really separate from that stuff, as he started seeing how they would advocate Adam and Sitch and the things that they're saying being like pretty directly implicating some seriously sinister shit towards queer people in general. But they get away with that, and they also can get away with being against women's rights, because there's enough people that are. But as soon as they are able to drum up, because you can see them doing it all the time on the internet, you see them kind of like saying, just by saying that a black person is in a movie, that's woke, that's DEI. That's what that is. That's them trying to force it back, push back the progress that has been made, so that there'll be just enough people to go, actually, I kind of don't like that black people can marry white people. And then that's what they're going to go after that. That's going to be a fucking new proposal. And they will continue on, because that's what fascism is.
Because
they
you will always need a new enemy. If J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk could get a magic wand and wish me away tomorrow, the right would have a new enemy the next day. There will always be another enemy for these people. They will always
there's
make
a poem about that. I don't remember how it goes, but
there's a poem about that. You should look it up.
I'll do that. And we can finish this off real quick too. In the meantime, if you want to read that immigration and law enforcement one.
Yeah, I'll read immigration and law enforcement. So the plan calls for aggressive immigration enforcement and the expansion of capital punishment, highlighting a tough stance on national security and law and order, with potentially severe impacts on immigrant communities and the criminal justice system. So I'm going to take this apart, sort of going backwards, and I'm going to start with capital punishment. Historically in this country, most people who are executed by the state are either mentally deficient and or of a minority ethnicity. Often both, and almost always poor and unable to afford proper representation from the get-go. This is, in addition to a crime against humanity, class warfare. This is creating a two-tiered legal system wherein if you are poor and accused of a crime, you are at a greater risk of being killed by the state. So we'll start there. Just, light and fluffy. A tough stance on national security. Immigration is not a national security issue. There are national security experts and immigration experts that write on this. These are entirely unrelated things that we have unfortunately allowed to become merged together in the wake of 9/11. Immigrants come here to work. They come here to live here because this is America. We are, as Ronald Reagan put it, a shining city on the hill. We're a place that mythologizes itself as being the place you can go with nothing and become something. That's the marketing. That's the sales pitch. National security is nothing to do with that. Threats to national security in the 21st century don't cross our border with migrants. They fly in on visas. They attack over the internet. So it is just scapegoating and scaremongering over literal nothing. And also, while we're talking about our good Christian conservatives, the majority of the migrant population that comes to this country from our southern border are Christian, often devoutly so. The Hispanic population is majority Christian. Often people fleeing from the Middle East, fleeing persecution in the Middle East, are doing so because they are Christian.
Well, okay, so you said a couple of really relevant things there. I mean, it's all relevant, but I mean, the shining city on a hill thing, that, yeah, like you said, that is the branding. That's been the marketing for a long time, and nobody ever said we're officially not marketing that anymore. It just started shifting suddenly. Not suddenly, but like, gradually, and then suddenly, next thing you know, Trump and that it seems to be that's not the market, but like the people that that's kind of advertising to, so to speak, they're not exactly like often up to current fucking dais on what's going on in the U.S. So they're still like getting messages from half a decade ago, as far as what's going on, and they think
if you heard about that as a child and your town is being encroached upon by drug running gangs that, sell drugs to us, if we're being perfectly honest. The drug war is an economic problem caused by America. Let's be real.
Yep.
And you heard as a kid about, how your parents were able to cross the American border and go work and come back and bring money for their family and take care of everyone.
That's going to seem like a pretty magical place.
That's a magical place. Of course you're going to go, you're going to try. Like if that's what those are your options, of course. Absolutely.
Now imagine doing that, thinking I just got to get there, and then and of course there's always been probably a little bit of like false expectations as far as like how easy it would be to make that happen, but at least there's an opportunity. But then nowadays, if you're coming over, like let's say the Texas-Mexico border, you might just like run into some fucking razor wire.
Into some fucking booby traps, right? And we spent 3 episodes shitting on the guy. But Reagan was absolutely correct on our immigration policy because he was pro-migrant labor.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you know what he said was,
"Welcome to the FAP. Nancy used to do that for me. Handsy Nancy, I called her."
Gods, you got me again. All right.
So, yeah. So I found that poem as Bob had quoted as well, but I wanted to give some more context to it as well. So the quote, and I'll tell you where I'm reading this from here in a second. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. I remember being younger and not understanding what the fuck that had to do with anything.
Right.
Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And this was by Martin Niemöller, German name.
Yeah.
And it's mistakenly often referred to as a poem. It's not a poem. It's just some shit he said.
Right.
And what context was it said? Well, after World War II, Niemöller openly spoke about his own early complicity in Nazism and his eventual change of heart. And he was complicit in this, just that he didn't act, he didn't say anything.
Right.
When he knew it was wrong. His powerful words about guilt and responsibility still resonate today. And these words are, let's see, they've been a permanent part of the exhibition at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum since its opening in 1993. Yeah. So
there you go.
And there's a reason why that gets repeated. There's a reason why it's relevant. And the right is going to do a lot, like they always do, but they're definitely going to be doing it now. A lot of effort, a lot of fucking work, a lot of labor to try to convince you that you're being over dramatic. And this is, that's not what's, the project's not a big deal. It's just nothing. I've had people in chat already doing it Friday.
Yeah.
Do not fucking stand for that. If you've been paying attention to this stream, what we're saying is right there in the text of the thing. I mean, if you don't believe me, you can go look yourself. You can go look at Read Project 2025 on the Heritage Foundation's website.
And you can read the Republican platform. You can read the draft version that they released 2 weeks ago, and you can read the final version that came out. And you can see the language was modified, which is fascinating.
Did you notice anything? Was there anything kind of carried over, or was it all completely different, or what?
So the draft version is definitely more. When I read the draft version, it is more in line with the Project 2025 or the Agenda 47 language. They moderated some things, particularly on marriage and on abortion, but like they made it weaselly. So like so they changed the definition of marriage from, instead of being between the draft definition was of course the one man and one woman, and the final version is Republicans will promote a culture that values the sanctity of marriage. And I'm pulling that quote from the New York Times.
So even more vague. Jeez.
Right. Is they're just trying to but we know what they mean, right? Like we know what the dog whistles are. And even then, I didn't know this until I read the New York Times report on it. That a lot of these social conservatives within the Republican Party were upset that they were moderating their language. Because, that's how they be.
Yeah. I think Lucifer shared an article earlier that I'll have to look up in the New York Times again. I think I've already read my free one for the month or whatever. So
yeah.
I'll have to sign into another browser.
Right. Just time for another incognito mode.
But yeah, we'll probably look into that. If it becomes relevant again. But I mean, it's relevant. It's going to stay relevant.
Yeah, it's not going.
Point being that, look, guys, I'm going to tell you all a secret about my channel. If it was just, and maybe this is kind of lame to admit or something, but if it was just me wanting to talk about fandom, I don't know that I'd ever started this channel. That was not what motivated me. It's not the primary thing that motivated me. What motivated me was that I have kids, and I don't fucking want to see them live in a world that looks like things are trying to go to, that certain people are trying to make it be. And then, in the interim, since I started my channel, I've made lots of amazing friends. Met lots of people, heard lots of perspectives, and I've only empathized with those more than I ever did. And yeah, yes, we talk about fandom stuff generally, but that's almost entirely because it's directly an expression of the same shit, the same fucking forces that want to make this happen. I don't want to hide that. Hopefully anybody that thinks that's surprised by that, hopefully nobody is. Hopefully you all realize that I haven't been like the chuds I didn't want to be, where I'm hiding what my underlying intentions are. I've tried to keep wearing them on my sleeve, but I'm genuinely terrified for this country and for marginalized people, for myself in some ways.
I am terrified for everyone that isn't a rich white oligarch.
Yeah.
like here's the deal, right? Like I am even terrified. You played that clip of those neo-Nazis marching. I am terrified for them too.
Right.
Because they have been so misled by our system and failed by our system that is how they ended up. And without some major course correction, more people are going to end up like that. And those people are probably at some point in their life going to have to grapple with what they've done, with what they've committed their time and effort and brief time on this earth to. If this is bad for you, everything that's going on right now is bad for you. Everything the Republicans want in their platform, in Agenda 47 and Project 2025, it is to your detriment to support them.
I hesitate to like use terms like good versus evil and stuff like that, because it really is just like it's such loaded fucking concepts and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know that there is anything that, in my view, that could more practically be described as what's happening right now. The people that try to obfuscate and try to like both sides and stuff, the reason I get so fucking angry with those people, and the reason why I'm going to have zero tolerance for them, really, unless I feel like they're like actually open to learning in chat or something like that. If some of these people shows up and are just like, oh, it's both sides at this point, you get the fuck out of here, you're gone. Because we need all fucking hands on deck, because this is a concerted effort that's been pushed for decades. It's got corporate backing, corporate sponsorship. They've got their fucking claws into power, and it's gonna barely be by the fucking skin of our teeth if we avoid it in November. Mm-hmm. And then we're gonna have to keep fighting after that too.
And then the work goes on.
And that fucking sucks, but
So I want to circle back around as we're talking about this.
Yeah.
To something we talked about earlier, which is the cutting of the veterans benefits. In the wake of World War I, one of the things that primed the pump for fascism, in not just in Germany and not just in Italy, but also places like Spain and Japan, is that you had a generation of men trained for war, traumatized by war, and who returned home to nothing, whose country abandoned them. It's a breeding ground for this, and you can see it in our veteran population today. That the cutting of those benefits only feeds this cycle of violence in the most cynical way. And I know we don't want to frame it. We're adverse to framing it as good versus evil. But I think what it is it's cynicism versus empathy.
Yes.
It is, am I so cynical that I am only about getting mine in the immediate second we're discussing, and I will trample over anyone I have to get it? Or will you stand by the person next to you, whoever the fuck they are, and go, no, we've got each other's back here and no further. I don't care if you're different from me. I don't care if you're from a different place or speak a different language. We all deserve to be here and to live our lives in peace and happiness. And I don't care if you're on the left, center, or right. That's all we want as working people. We're not these oligarchs. We're not these politicians. We're not these religious leaders. We need to come together under that banner of empathy, rather than the cynicism of getting yours from whichever powerful person will give you the scraps from their table.
Yeah. What I mean, what's the question? Of course, just ordinary people. We're all just ordinary people. That's the thing. That's the really great lie of it all, is that like we're all just ordinary. Being different from each other is the ordinary thing. The lie is to think that because we have some distinctions about us that are generally a lot of superficial stuff, or just lifestyle that don't affect anything outside of the person living it. That's the fucking deception, is that somehow we need to be against one another. We need to see the other as the other. And that it appeals to a very primitive, something that did benefit us whenever, in prehistoric times, so to speak. Like, we would see someone different than us, and the tribalist instinct would kick in, and that would protect us, because that's the kind of world it was then, right? Long ass time ago, was kill or be killed. We're not in that anymore. That's not what this is. It doesn't have to be that. It hasn't been that for a long time, and there are people that want it to be again.
And in a way it still is. It's just what the tribes are is obscured.
Yeah.
But
I mean, all the tribes are all intermixed. That's why we've got, people. We all know somebody that's queer. We all know somebody that's, a person of color or whatever. Like, it's all the tribes are have blended together, and that's what they don't want, right?
Well,
like,
and I also think it's important that often, especially like if you're a conservative person trapped in a conservative news bubble where people of color are vilified, where queer people are vilified, to have one in your life is often life-changing. Because now that goes from a thing that, like, especially if you're cordial to them, you don't have to be friends with them necessarily, but be decent people to each other, and that will build decency, that will get them away from this shit.
Because as like Philip says, YouTube's not the only place where it comes from, but it is a major one these days. But like, that's what that content exists for, is to stop people from seeing someone and empathizing with their suffering or their struggle or their trauma, because we all have those. We all have suffering, and we all have some degree of trauma. And if you empathize with it, oh man, that's a slippery slope to giving a fuck about other people, and they don't want that.
I also think that that's why it's important that, here on the FAPcast, that we do things like talk Star Wars and talk X-Men, because it's important to show that we're not one-sided people that just want to. We're not just lefties on the internet who want to talk about how Trump's bad. We are in a position where we feel we must. But that doesn't mean we can't celebrate the other things about us, even when we disagree. And you and I have disagreements on things, in terms of our entertainment choices sometimes. And it's good to have those conversations as friends and as fans beyond just the political aspect of it.
Yep. So it's literally show, what's it like to be in an actual fandom.
Right. Ha
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know that we can go out on much of a more somber, but also, well said. No,
thank you.
But I think there is one way that we could end this that would be pretty damn good.
Right.
And because look, we put a lot of heavy stuff out there today, and it's probably going to continue to be that to some degree as we continue our current fucking Deus era of the FAPcast. We'll try and mix it up with we are going to mix it up. We're going to cover some historical examples still, and other things that, like, I didn't have time for my Wolverine thing today. That's okay. I don't feel like it was really appropriate for the tone, but this is so we put a lot out there. It's probably pretty heavy. Some of you may not, it may be you're just coming to terms with how severe this situation is. If you're not, I hope that you start to. But that doesn't mean you need to doom and gloom. It doesn't mean all hope is lost. And well, you may wonder, well, fuck, man, why does this have to happen? Why is this going on? Why right now? Right. And I think this clip I'm going to play on the way out the door, it says it, right? It says it all.
wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. There are other forces at work in this world, Frodo, besides the will of evil. Bilbo was meant to find the ring, in which case you also were meant to have it. And that is an encouraging thought.
May Bill Gaines shine his heavenly light upon you and impregnate you with many happy days and joy fetuses. May your anuses be cleansed by the purifying light that exudes from Bill Gaines' eternal dragon phallus. Should you meet your mortal demise this day, go with comfort that you have satisfied the commands of the one true Bill, those being this: read comic books. Fuck the dumb shit. Be yourself. Love each other. Also, read more comics and grow your hair out all goddamn while. Amen.
Actual fandom is not going to stop.